Chapter 5. Andrew Nulo kills all the 6 male cubs immediately. Instead of eating all of the male cubs, male units 1 through 6, he decides to only kill them and leave them to the very hyenas that are supposed to comfort them. Andrew began to starve himself again, but this time will come to bite him in the ass right at the end of the story. Andrew didn't do what Whiskers did, because in his honest opinion, no pride leader must ever eat his own. The hyena, after having eaten them all, gathered up all the bones and gave it right back to Andrew, so then Andrew gave all the skeletons of the now-to-be past tense male cubs to the female cubs as a token of gratitude and badge of honor. All the female cubs, instead of crying like sane cubs, took it to heart, accepted, and honored him back, whilst never shedding even the least of tears. But Andrew wasn't done introducing the survival game just yet. He has yet to explain the rules for the females, that aren't exactly like what Whiskers White's playbook had in store for them. Andrew then introduces all the 6 female cubs to his new survival game, and he dubs it Be a Mother or Die a Motherless Cub in Afrikaans. Here are the 6 rules for all the 6 female cubs, according to Andrew himself.
Number 1. Any female cub shall agree not to feed themselves to the hyenas, even under all the stress and trauma of having others do or killed by me. Number 2. One must not address me as father, daddy, or dad, or I will kill you. I am the leader, not a father. Number 3. One must address me as sir or master. Number 4. One must not be purist or entirely degenerating from being a lioness, as any of you grow up. Number 5. If one must or shall disobey, I accept my own terms not to eat my own cubs. And finally, number 6. If one must or shall disobey, she will be killed by me and fed to the hyenas.
All the female cubs initially nodded in agreement, and the story goes on. Chapter 6. Andrew Nulo plays Whiskers' survival game, but for female cubs only. On January 30th, 1971, female cub units 1, 3, 4, and 5 conformed to the rules without fear. Female cub unit 2, on the other hand, decided to go against the grain, and Andrew perceived that as a threat. And then she threw herself to the hyenas, killing one of the hyenas. Then Andrew kills female cub unit 2. Female cub units 1, 3, 4, and 5 go along their merry way as if nothing else is happening at all. Unlike one of his rules of not eating his own cubs, the rest of the hyenas run away for their own lives, so Andrew made an exception when it comes to cannibalism for the other female cubs to kill and eat any who refused to comply or go against the rules. Female cub unit 2 was the first one to be killed and eaten, killed by Andrew with the assistance of female cub unit 4, and then eaten by the rest of them. Chapter 7. Andrew Nulo kills the remaining 5 female cubs. On February 1st, 1971, Andrew then decided to kill 4 more cubs, sometime after female cub unit 4 assisted in the murder/kill of female cub unit 2 by Andrew. Well, rules for thee, but not for me for him. This does not excuse his slight deviation from one of his own original rules. Andrew is now a hypocrite and an absolute idiot. Other female cubs can eat one, but Andrew wouldn't allow himself to eat his own. Andrew's now without hyenas and without the rest of the cubs, so it leaves him with no other option but to leave all the other dead cub corpses to rot and decompose. The other hyenas were found to be killed and eaten by Andrew later on. But even with all that meat and food in his gullet, he is still starving for more, not less. The corpses of all the other 4 female cubs has since fully decomposed and rotted away. I will not spoil what happens in the next chapter because it will be interesting, but the remaining cub has yet to be revealed and honored. Chapter 8. Andrew Nulo chooses the right female in his opinion. On February 2nd, 1971, Andrew has now chosen a winner in this newly updated and original survival game that he has dubbed Vies en Mouth Stuff Tudu Lusa Velpi, or Be a Mother or Die a Motherless Cub in Afrikaans. And the winner is Female Unit 4, ironically the one that started the one and only time that the female cubs became cannibals. But female Unit 4 is no longer a cub, but a grown-up lioness now. The reason he chose her is not just because she was the only one that survived, but also because she defended his honor. Before we make way for Chapter 9, I will make a few clarifications. Number 1, Andrew was aware that he's been a hypocrite and a dumbass. Number 2, Andrew is no longer a quote-unquote pride leader in not just his own eyes, but by its very own logic of being one. And finally, number 3, Andrew is now horny and in the righteous mood to mate and have sex. Chapter 9. Andrew Nullo kills the last remaining female lioness and dies. So unlike what happened last time in this audiobook franchise, the mating with Andrew and female Unit 4 didn't go well. On February 14, 1971, on Valentine's Day, Andrew and female Unit 4 began to attempt to mate. I'm going to go into long and stressful detail on how it all went down and why. First, here's the how. Number 1, as the mating process was beginning, female Unit 4's vagina was wet and ready. Number 2, Andrew grabbed his cock out and then proceeded to start downright banging her. Number 3, as the banging grew harder and harder, both Andrew and female Unit 4 began to vibrate violently. He climaxes. And number 4, as Andrew climaxed into her, female Unit 4 began to feel weak, confused, and then died of a heart attack as the mating just ended. And finally, here's the why. Number 1, the amount of shaking and violent vibrating put all this pressure on her poor lioness heart. Number 2, female Unit 4 couldn't breathe from the vibrating, and as she tried to breathe right when Andrew's climax initially took place, she choked on her own spit. Number 3, her poor little heart seized up, and her last breath was completely wasted as a failed attempt at an orgasmic grunt. This sounded like when a chicken clucking while being underwater, but unlike water, it was her own blood. And number 4, Andrew then had a heart attack himself and died the exact same way female Unit 4 did, but he grunted and roared loudly with glee. He spent the last few remaining breaths on grunting and roaring. Chapter 10. End of story / conclusion of audiobook. Our story ends with the final few things to conclude. Number 1, Andrew just died of not just a heart attack, but of starvation as well. Had the starvation not been a problem at all, he would have survived. Number 2, the corpses of both Andrew Nullo and female Unit 4 were left to decompose and rot, not eaten by any other animal that was just passing by them. Number 3, no cubs were made in the end of the story. And finally, number 4, all of Andrew's jizz that made it in her vagina slipped and came right out, proving this whole exercise of mating a complete waste of time, as Grant jokingly predicted earlier in the story. And that does it for The Tale of the Cub and the Pride 2, None the Wiser, No Lions, by Brian Mullins, or Brian Mullins the Fox. And I am signing out. See you all in the next big audiobook coming this Halloween called Open Door, Left Balcony. And there may potentially be the third and last installment to this franchise. Goodbye for now.